I'm Samiha with Project Behind Every. This is a series covering professional women in their goals. We are here with our first guest today, Rezwana Hasan. তাকে আমি চিনি হচ্ছে ব্র্যাক থেকে, ব্র্যাক ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে। আমরা দুইজনই ব্র্যাকে সিএসসি পড়ি। তো রেজওয়ানা এখন আছে Optimizely Business Intelligence Analyst হিসেবে. She used to work at Uber before as a business analyst. So I think I'm really excited to know about her journey and share also with you guys going into CSC from Brack and then going into Uber and Optimizely, like how was the journey and also what her career goals are in the future too. So yeah, Rezwana, please.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Rezwana. So hi, I'm Rezwana. I'm from Optimizely right now, currently working as a Business Intelligence Analyst, like Samiha mentioned. And like a crazy journey. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I had so far. But like around 3.5 years, maybe around, yeah. So yeah, alhamdulillah, going well.
Nice. So I think for this project, the main goal is basically যে আমরা যারা 3rd 4th year university আছি তখন হচ্ছে কনফিউজ থাকি যে আচ্ছা আমাদের প্রফেশনাল লাইফে আমরা আসলে কি করব, রাইট? সো going back when you started, when you were in your 3rd 4th year, just give us like how was the journey from there to getting into your first job? Like,
yeah, it was scary. It was very confusing as well. Like 3rd 4th year in, you don't know what you're doing, and we had COVID back then, right? So it was so confusing. And আমি হচ্ছে just wait করতাম, আমাদের online classes থাকতো online. So we would do that, porashona kortam jar moddhe, but then we don't know what's going to happen because COVID was there as well, right? So ender dike when everything started getting normal, I started hunting for jobs and I was like, okay, what is there for me? And I was confused as well because what do I want to do? I know CSC is a field, but then it's so vast, right?
It's so broad.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can do with CSC. I thought that maybe, okay, fine, I'll try into a few different things. But to be very honest, I was never really into hardcore programming, which is why I was very confused at that point. What ki korba ami? So tokhon I thought, okay, fine, like I'll apply for a few internships. And Uber was a place where I applied. I did get a reference from my cousin. She used to work there. So I asked her like if you will be able to give me a reference, and that's how I got into Uber. I started my journey with a vehicle financing solution project, and I don't have business knowledge at all, right? So it was very in the beginning
like how
I started,
was the learning process? আচ্ছা এখন CSC degree আমাদের কিন্তু like এত in depth in business যায় না আমাদের one courses আছে, but they weren't prepping you for this, right? How was that learning process?
It was great, to be honest. And one thing that I believe in is that you shouldn't regret any opportunity that comes your way, right? So when I was working with the vehicle financing project solution, I didn't even know what finance is. I didn't know what business is, right? I'm just getting there and I'm just learning. Okay, and one thing about me is that I'm very observant. So I just look at people and try to learn what you're doing, what this person is. Even Sami, what are you doing, right? Alhamdulillah, she's doing so well. So yeah, I just tried to understand like how things work. So the vehicle financing project was difficult for me because it's a tough project.
Did you have any mentors while working there?
Because like it's a tough project.
She's going to guide me, or somebody who can support you with that role there.
I actually had a lot of mentors, so they were actually very helpful. I didn't really get the time to understand everything, but sort of there were a few, like that was just internship, but there were some like so I had a few onboarding buddies who were very kind and very nice. So they were nice enough to show an intern around like how to get things with. I actually went to a few financing companies to understand like how it's done. But that went on for like a month and it wasn't really something that would have worked probably. So later on it was handed over to the team. But then I saw an opportunity where, they were looking for a general operations executive. That's when I decided, okay, fine, like should I just at least apply because I don't have a job. Internship is not like a job, right? So then
it was a separate position.
It was a separate position. Yes. So and then the like one of my onboarding buddies, she became like my lead after that. So she was like, okay, like why don't you apply to this? And okay, sure. And I think one thing that's very important in whatever you do is show that you're responsible and gain people's trust. This is very important. I think even if the project didn't work out for that 1 month, I tried it, like I gave my dedication, I gave it my all to understand like how I can work, right? So yeah, I think they saw that, and that's why I got into the first jump.
So that was your first
so general operations, that was basically dealing with payroll and purchase orders, not what I studied at all, nothing relevant at all.
I think also it's important for anybody watching this that okay, sometimes maybe you have to start from something that you did not major at. Like amaro jemon I started my own company. I started with something I did not major at, and I had to learn on the go. So I think ওই জিনিসটা we do have a lot of imposter syndrome that we have to fight with in that, and we girls need like, you know, surround us with people who trust us, right? So I think ওই জিনিসটাও important এইদিকে. So how did you go from that to, did you work with data and business?
So for purchase orders and the POs and payrolls, basically it was nothing related to data, of course, but back then, you know, when you are from a science background, when you're from an engineering background, you want to do more of problem solving. That didn't have it, right? And also like back then AI wasn't a thing, so it didn't really excite me at all. It wasn't something that I would look forward to, and even one of my managers said that, are you sure you want to do this, because this is not your cup of tea? I would love to do that. So then I just did, but then later on, again, like I mentioned, you have to gain people's trust and you have to show that you're worth the job, right? So whatever it is, even if you don't like it, show that you're responsible, show that you're dedicated at it, and gain people's trust. So then later on, then we had someone who left, the business analyst, and I in that position, okay, can I try for it? At least if I can try. And Uber does this. They do a lot of internal hiring and all that. So, and I think Optimizely as well, like both of these companies, alhamdulillah, they were very good. So Uber was actually looking for,
I would like to, can you explain a bit about the internal hiring জিনিসটা?
I feel so like internal hiring is basically যখন like একটা company, and then take, for example, like I was, right, PO and purchase order, our background are completely different. So if you have the skill set, you can apply for it. And then, for example, আমার ওই সময় যেমন double hatting করতে হয়েছে. So double hatting, and I was the person, I didn't know what double hatting is. I was like, I have to do 2 jobs. They were like, no, that's chill. That's not how it works. So basically, I had to do a bunch of PO work. At the same time, I had to do something regarding business analysis. For example, payments, driver payments. That requires a lot of data. So I was double hatting at that time. So দুইটা job একসাথে করা, but like
then you have to kind of
balance out, right? So ওই double hatting এর সময়ও you have to gain trust again. Like when you're working with data, that's a big responsibility, right? And one thing, you cannot talk about data with everyone in the company as well, because it's very sensitive. So you have to gain that trust, and you have to work very hard, all-nighters. So many all-nighters. So you have to work so hard to understand how everything is and how it works, and then finally got it.
So then the transition from, I think you worked there for 2 years, right?
Almost 1.5.
1.5 years. So Uber to Optimizely. So the culture is probably different, right? From Uber is corporate.
Not
Uber
too
is a
different,
startup.
But
I would say, is it still a startup? Like a startup like environment chilo na. But Optimizely is like proper corporate environment. How was the change? And then what was the process of you applying there?
So then after Uber, at one point I was like, okay, fine. So you understand this when, you know, you need a career shift. I think you understand this when you feel like, okay, I have learned. It's not I'm saying that I know everything, no. But I've learned a bit, and then I realized that, okay, I want to do more with this, right? And that's when you kind of figure out that, okay, I want to jump now. So that's when I decided to apply for Optimizely, and initially I think the process was very smooth. So I didn't even think I will get into the role. And if I say, I didn't give a lot of interviews in my life. You know, and I'm not bragging about it in no way am I saying it. But it's more because I don't know, when I feel, okay, I'm good at this job and I think I can do more, I just stick to it. I don't plan on, okay, I'll go to this and go to that. That is something I discourage people to do, because if you're hopping from one job to another, that doesn't really, because it takes you a lot of time to learn something.
And also get used to the
exactly.
role
So
there.
if, for example, data, a lot of time to understand Uber's data, right? So after that, when I reached like storytelling and all those stuff, that's when I decided, okay, fine. And now I think I'm ready for something new. So that's when I stepped.
If somebody would like start getting into data now in this era, how would you suggest যে কিভাবে start করা উচিত? Like, you know, third, fourth year, then okay, I want to go into this career.
Okay, so I think a few fundamentals that you need to learn, and I think everywhere it's needed, is basically SQLs, and maybe some places you need Pythons as well. So you can do, like, if you're from a CS background, I'm sure you already have an idea of it, but then again, I would say I forgot everything after like I got out of university. So I think you can do a few courses, but now that you have AI, I think it makes very easy for you to learn things, right? So use AI. AI is the new thing. Use AI as much as you can.
Also, how did you know that okay, this is the thing I want to do? Like, how did you know acha etai like korchi ami ebong etai pursue korbo? I think that was
So not after university, of course. This happened to me while I was working in Uber, and I do see a lot of people, like, they were with me, and then I do see them, like, okay, they know that they want to do this, for example, marketing or anything. They want to do this, but they're not sure what to do. And I was also not sure what I was doing. I knew that, so like I mentioned already, that I'm not a pro at hardcore programming, right? I'm not very good with programming a lot of things that I'm like not that good at. But when it comes to programming and then business, I thought that, okay, I can have a blend of both worlds, right? So that's when I decided, okay, fine, I don't want to like leave programming at all, but I want to have it, and then I want to incorporate something else with it. So I think business analyst is the best for that. So that's when I decided, okay, I'll do it. And then that decision was like, I was like, okay, fine, this is it for me, is when I was working in Uber as a business analyst. So a lot of people say data is boring. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, but what do you think, like, which part of it was, okay, this is very exciting?
Yeah, that's what I was getting into. So when you're starting to work with data, there's so many things, right? There's tables after tables after tables. Like, you're looking into tables, and then I'm like, oh my god, what is this? If you just stick to tables, and if you just stick to the data and just delivering data, it gets very boring very easily. So what happened was, and thankfully, like managers were very nice.
A bit of like business decision. আচ্ছা আমি এই ডিসিশনটা নেব এই ডেটার উপর বেস করে, বাট কেন নিব?
So like our managers they were very nice, and they were actually very helpful. They actually mentored me very well. So they told me you can just stick to data analysis, SQL use kore data ber korba. Data use kore, you need to start writing, like, you need to make data sense, put pieces together into a story. So one of my work that I did in Uber was, figuring out, and that's what when I decided I want to do like more of this, is when we were working on, I think it was during elections or some sort of, not a campaign, but what happened was, like, we were trying to look into high engaged drivers, then medium engaged, low engaged, trying to find out their habits, and at the same time, like, how much do they earn. And can you even look into that? Can you even guess that from the data? And then, we had, alhamdulillah, we had very good professionals over there. So I actually gave them the data, but they actually helped me to look into, like, okay, this is how we're using this to create this story. And I was like, whoa, that is awesome.
Okay, this part of the conversation, I'm going to ask you some hot takes, like spicy questions. Do these things work or not? Women in STEM programs? No.
I think because these programs usually like take like around 6 hours of your day, you don't have the attention span for 6 hours. Like, you won't. Like, I think the highest would be like 1 hour, and then you're like, huh. So I don't think it works. And I don't really like joining these programs. I don't go into these programs. No.
Okay. University clubs?
Depends on how the club is, and how, like, do some background, like, do your research before going into a club.
Okay. Worst piece of career advice you got?
So I think by now you guys can say that I'm very chirpy, bubbly, and I have this personality. And someone did tell me once that this personality will not take me to a higher position.
It's because you're too
because
bubbly.
I'm too bubbly and chirpy. I feel like it's very, like people won't take me seriously. I'm like, okay.
Okay, interesting. I got that input too, Akbar. Serious work is look too young.
That.
Okay. Did you
But
face?
sorry for cutting you in that, but I would say, since this is a women in STEM, I would definitely say I did have this manager, and she, for some reason, never saw this and that's where I think I gained more confidence. She never saw this as a problem. She never saw this about. I don't think, because she herself is like that, and she's a manager. She's doing so well. So I think that was something that helped me gain more confidence, and her journey also inspired me a lot. So,
Nice. Programming contests.
They are very good for you if you want to feel it. I went to some, and I was like, it helps you, it motivates you to learn more, but then it's up to you what you do with them.
Did you face any male colleagues দের সাথে sexism বা তোমাকে underestimate করা? Did you face any of those?
Alhamdulillah, no. I think Uber and Optimizely both don't have that culture. No.
That's nice. Okay, so I think we're done with this part. We're just going into, giving your advice for anybody who's in their third year, fourth year, and second guessing যে আচ্ছা আমি এখন কি করব after I get out.
First of all, chill. It's not the end of the world. I think from my experience, I was very scared and everything. If you can, during your university year, start looking for internships and all these programs. I think leverage AI. That is not something that I had back then, because AI wasn't a big thing, right? Leverage AI into being smarter. And one thing that I think is very underrated, maybe not in the corporate world, but when you want to get into a corporate world, is communication.
Right.
I think that is so important. There might be things that you don't know how to handle, but just because you know communication, that helps you get into a long way. তোমার জানা লাগবে না যে তোমার সবকিছু পারা লাগবে, but তুমি যদি জানো like কিভাবে communicate করবা বা কিভাবে you can handle your stakeholders, that helps a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is very important.
This series is called Behind Every. So finish this sentence, like behind every women in STEM or behind every woman in their career.
There's a little girl who always dreamed.
That's really nice. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you.
It was really great.
Seeing you in the next episode.